and welcome to the channel. My name is Armageddon, and today we're going to be playing a Brawl deck featuring Kenrith, the Returned King, as our commander. This Brawl video is the first of a series of videos I will be making featuring commanders from the set Throne of Eldraine. Because Kenrith has an activated ability of each color, he has all 5 colors for his color identity. This means that you can play any card that's legal in Brawl on Arena in a Kenrith deck, so you can build a Kenrith deck in a multitude of ways. First off, as you can see, I'm playing Keruga the Macro Sage as my companion. The deck building constraint for having Keruga as your companion is that you can only play cards with a mana value of 3 or greater. You could get around this by playing creatures with cheap adventures, but I chose to take a different route. This deck is built to synergize with a few key creatures. As you can see, I'm playing very few creatures overall. The first 2 key creatures are both 5 color variants of Niv Mizzet. Niv Mizzet Reborn and Niv Mizzet Supreme. Both of these variants of Niv Mizzet reward you for playing spells that are exactly 2 colors. When Niv Mizzet Reborn enters, you look at the top 10 cards of your library and put into your hand a card from each color pair. While Niv Mizzet Supreme is on the battlefield, instants and sorceries that are exactly 2 colors have Jumpstart, so you can cast them from your graveyard by discarding a card. All of the instants and sorceries in this deck and most of the rest of the cards are exactly 2 colors, roughly evenly distributed among the 10 color pairs. Niv Mizzet Supreme is also why more of the non-land cards in this deck are instants or sorceries compared to other card types. As you can see, there is a roughly equal number of cards of each major non-land card type: artifact, creature, enchantment, instant, planeswalker, and sorcery. This is in order to synergize with one of the other key creatures, Atraxa Grand Unifier. When Atraxa enters, you look at the top 10 cards of your library and put into your hand 1 card of each card type. Playing a roughly equal number of cards from each non-land card type makes it more likely that Atraxa will put more cards in your hand. There are 3 mana creatures in the deck, all of which are exactly 3 colors to synergize with Niv Mizzet Reborn. Leyline Prowler, Draconic Disciple, which late in the game can be sacrificed to make a dragon creature token, and Feyburrow Elder, which produces 1 mana of each color among permanents you control, which is great if you have a Niv Mizzet in play. By itself, the Feyburrow Elder makes white and green mana. The other ramp creature is Golos, Tireless Pilgrim. He is in this deck in order to find the World Tree land so that all of your lands tap for every color of mana. And if you can untap with Golos in play, in this deck, it is usually easy to activate Golos' ability to play the top 3 cards of your library without paying their mana costs. The last creature is Glarb, Calamity's Augur, a new addition from Bloomburrow. Glarb is 3 colors, so he doesn't work with Niv Mizzet, but he is a great addition for this deck because if he is in play, you can play lands and cast spells with mana value 4 or greater off the top of your deck, which, as you can imagine, is amazing. And if you've already played your land for the turn, or if there is a spell on the top of your deck that you can't cast, Glarb also surveils, so you can look for more action. Let's look briefly at the other cards, which I've sorted by type, starting with the artifacts. I'm playing mostly ramp artifacts. There's Firemine Vessel, Gilded Lotus, and Timeless Lotus. Key to the Archive is a ramp artifact that also lets you draft a card from its powerful spellbook and keep it if you discard another card. And here are the spells you can choose from. Tome of the Guild Pact ramps you and draws you a card when you cast a multicolored spell. Chromatic Orrery makes casting your spells very easy and can draw you a lot of cards if you have a Atraxa or a Niv in a play. I'm also playing Mithril Coat to protect our key legendary creatures, and the value engine Shamil the Inner Sun. The Inner Sun makes it so that your spells can't be countered and discovers 5 during your end step, which means that you can either cast the spell it discovers or put it in your hand, so it provides a lot of card advantage over time. All but one of our enchantments are exactly 2 colors. The one that isn't is Spelunking, which draws you a card and lets you put an additional land in play when you play it. We don't have any caves in this deck, so it doesn't gain us life, but the ability to make our lands come into play untapped is very helpful. Our mana base includes all 10 triomes, which always come into play tapped, so we sometimes have to play off curve, but if we have Spelunking in play, they come into play untapped, and we can also play our shock lands untapped without having to pay 2 life. Now this deck is on the controlling end of the spectrum, so a lot of our enchantments, as well as of our other spells, act as removal. There's Profane Procession, which can exile creatures and then lets you replay them when it turns into a land. Binding the Old Gods destroys a non-land permanent and ramps you. Battle of Frost and Fire is a board wipe whose other 2 chapters provide a lot of value. We also have Journey to Eternity to protect a creature, and it can transform into a land that lets us reanimate creatures from our graveyard. Then there's The Apprentice's Folly, which makes non-legendary token copies of our creatures, which is great with Atraxa and Niv-Mizzet Reborn in play. We don't have a way to sacrifice The Apprentice's Folly before it reaches the 3rd chapter, but that's okay. Then there's Mirari's Wake, which ramps us and gives our creatures +1/+1. Finally, we have a win condition, Captive Audience, which forces the opponent to choose one of 3 different detrimental effects at the beginning of their upkeep. Our instants are all exactly 2 colors. As I said, we have lots of removal. There's Bedevil, Anguished, Unmaking, Mortify, Putrefy, Status Statue, Utter End, and Mortality Spear. We can't usually enable the discount on Mortality Spear. We also have a number of modal value spells. Kolaghan's Command can deal 2 damage to a creature or player, make the opponent discard a card, return a creature from a graveyard to her hand, or destroy an artifact. Now we don't have creatures with mana value 2 or less to reanimate with Ojutai's Command, but the other modes are useful. Silumgar's Command is a versatile counterspell or removal spell. Quandra's Command can bounce a creature or planeswalker or counter an artifact or enchantment spell, among other modes. A couple of our instants are value spells. We have Cosmic Rebirth to return a permanent card, usually to our hand. We also have Sphinx's Revelation, which is a great way to refuel and gain life in the late game. Harness Infinity is also great in the late game when our graveyard is full. We also have a number of Planeswalkers, all of whom are also exactly 2 colors. We have Teferi Time Raveler, who can bounce something and draw a card or make it so that we can cast sorceries at instant speed. Teferi's passive ability also makes it so that the opponent can't cast spells on our turn, which is useful. We also have Teferi, who slows the sunset, who can ramp us by untapping lands and mana artifacts, or who can mine us for card advantage. Nissa also ramps us by untapping a land, and can turn it into a creature with menace and haste that can attack if we don't need it for mana. She also lets us reanimate creatures from our graveyard or put them directly into play from our hand if we have enough lands. Tamiyo, Collector of Tales, can dig for a specific card in our deck. This ability is not as good in a singleton format like Brawl, but that ability also fills the graveyard for her minus ability, and her passive, preventing us from having to discard cards or sacrifice permanents, is useful too. Tamiyo, Completed Sage, can tap down opposing artifacts or creatures, or exile a non-land permanent from her graveyard and make a token copy of it. Her ultimate, which is not too hard to reach, is also great because it creates Tamiyo's Notebook, an artifact token which gives our spells a discount and draws a card every turn. And no surprise here, we also have a couple of Planeswalkers who provide removal. Kaya the Inexorable can exile any non-land permanent while also protecting our creatures, while Kaya Intangible Slayer can exile creatures or enchantments and create token copies of them. She can also draw cards or act as a win condition by draining the opponent for 3 life. Our sorceries are, again, also all exactly 2 colors. I mentioned before that this is a control deck, so we have a lot of board wipes. There's Supreme Verdict, Kaya's Wrath, Ill-Timed Explosion, Begin Anew, Deafening Clarion, Solar Blaze, and Time Wipe. We also have Versatile Removal. Fractured Identity exiles a non-land permanent and lets us make a token copy of it. Decimate destroys an artifact, creature, enchantment, and land, although we can only cast it if we can target all 4 of those types of permanents. And Casualties of War can destroy up to 5 different types of permanents without restriction. We have some graveyard recursion as well. Ether Helix bounces a permanent and returns a permanent from our graveyard to our hand. Reconstruct History can get back an artifact, enchantment, instant, sorcery, and planeswalker. And we usually cast the Concoct half of Connive Concoct to return a creature from our graveyard to the battlefield. But we can cast the Connive half to gain control of a smaller creature too if we need to. We also have some card advantage in the form of Escape to the Wilds, which exiles the top 5 cards of our library and lets us play them until the end of our next turn, and we can play an additional land the turn we cast it. Looking at our mana base, like I said before, we are playing all 10 tri-lands. With all these multicolor spells from all 10 color pairs, our mana requirements are pretty stringent. We aren't playing any basic lands, so we're in trouble if our opponent is playing Field of Ruin or similar lands. We also automatically lose if our opponent plays Blood Moon or Winter Moon, but there's nothing we can do about that. We are also playing all 10 Shock lands, and for the colors for which we have more spells, we're also playing some of the Innistrad duels that come into play untapped as long as we have at least 2 lands already in play. We're also playing the World Tree to perfectly fix our colors, and Command Tower, which is a must-have in any multicolor Brawl deck. Finally, we're also playing all of the non-basic fetch lands, which can fetch our various Shock lands or Tri-lands. So that's our Kenrith deck. Now it's time to take it into the queue and play some games. So we're up against Shanna Purifying Blade. Shanna is technically a life gain synergy commander, but she's often played as a Bant control commander. Control is actually not a very good matchup for us because a lot of our cards work better against creature decks. So let's hope that this is a life gain synergy deck. This hand is pretty good. We have 4 lands, some Ramp with Leyline Prowler. Mortality Spear is removal for any non-land permanent, and we have the Inner Sun for card advantage. So let's try it. And we need a black source for Mortality Spear. So what fetch? Both of the cards we have in hand that are two colors are black-green. So black-green dual would be good. Let's get Indotha Triome. Draw another Triome, which you can play on turn 2. Yeah, the one downside with this deck build is we don't have cheap adventure creatures that we can play on lower turns. Okay, opponent plays Ruin Lurker Bat, so they're more of a life gain synergy deck. So that means that our deck might work out pretty well after all. Opponent also get to descend by playing Broker's Hideout, so they get to scry and they keep one on the top. We'll play Leyline Prowler and pass, I should say. Opponent plays Ozolith, the Shattered Spire. We draw Supreme Verdict, that could come in handy. I think we play Kenrith here. And then next turn, we can either play the Inner Sun or blow up Ozolith. I think that's a good idea at some point. But I like the idea of getting Kenrith down here. The opponent is also playing with some +1/+1 synergies with Birthday Bill. Ruin Lurker Bat hits us for 3. So I think we want to get rid of Mortality Spear. Sorry, what am I saying? Ozolith now. Because otherwise that Ruin Lurker Bat's going to get out of hand. We'll do that while opponent's mostly untapped. There's no benefit to waiting until after we got the discount with Mortality Spear, because we'll only have 2 mana up if we're attacking with Leyline Prowler, and we'll only have 1 mana up if we don't attack with Leyline Prowler and gain life. So we might as well just cast Mortality Spear now. And we'll attack. Opponent plays Kami Whispered Hopes and attacks. Captive Audience. I think we play Captive Audience here. That's going to be great. The opponent either has to give us 5 2/2 black zombie creature tokens during their upkeep, or discard all their cards, or have their life total become 4. Opponent gives us the zombies. That's the least worst effect. Kami adds an extra +1/+1 counter. I was wondering how they got 2. So now they have 6 mana for Uzuri. Our life total is getting low. Battle with Frost and Fire does not destroy the bat. So we might have to Supreme Verdict here, because we need to get rid of that Ruin Lurker bat. Can I play the Inner Sun and Supreme Verdict? No. I only have 8 mana. So we'll play this tapped. Attack with everything. I can put a +1/+1 counter on something. There's no point putting it on the zombie that's going to hit Uzuri since we're blowing everything up with Supreme Verdict anyway. So I guess we put it on Prowler. Opponent goes down to 4. They play Shanna. Draw land. Which is good. I think we play the Inner Sun here. I guess we might as well just cast this now. And opponents had enough. They don't want to discard their hand. Alright. Okay. On the play. Gisela Broken Blade often gets paired with Gisela, or Gazella, however you say it, so that you can meld them into Brizella, Voice of Nightmares. Oh, Bruna, that's what I meant to say. This is Gisela. We have plenty of removal for their creatures. I'm not sure what kind of deck Giselle usually turns out to be, or Gazella. I think this is keepable. We have some versatile removal, board wipe, Niv Mizzet Reborn for card advantage, and Mithril Coat can protect something. Love some ramp, but I don't think we can send this. Look for a different hand. The only downside is we don't have 2 white sources, so we'll have to get 1 for sure. I'd love to get in Dathatrium because it also taps for green, but can't with Scalding Tarn. We'll get Rafine's Tower here. Another land is good. Now we'll get in Dathatrium. I think next turn we put Krug in hand. We don't have anything else to play. Opponent plays Brave the Sands, giving their creatures vigilance, and they can block 2 creatures. With 1 creature can block 2 creatures in combat. Interesting. Alright, so we'll put Kruga in hand. Next turn we play Firemind Vessel. Alright, so opponent seems to be mostly Angel creature deck. So that's good for us, because that means that our removal and board wipes are going to be useful. Deafening Clarion might not be that great. A lot of Angels have more than 3 toughness. But drawing Firemind Vessel is nice. We get to ramp. Opponent also ramps with the Celestis. So they played the Skyline Savior and thus returned it to their hand, because they have to return a permanent to their hand. I could play Niv Mizzet Reborn, but my hand is still pretty full. I think we play Kenrith here. Niv Mizzet also doesn't draw lands, which is mostly what I want right now. Opponent hits Angel of the Dire Hour, so that'll be useful to keep in mind when I'm attacking. When opponent hits 7 mana, which they're only 2 mana away from.
Let's clean up this town. Be brave.
Elspeth pluses. Drew a land, that was nice. I think we get rid of Elspeth, so that leaves us with 5 mana. If we play Karuga, we'll have to discard a card, but that might be okay. We could also play Karuga and give haste, but it's more efficient to put a +1/+1 counter on Kenrith and then play Karuga. Whoops. So we get rid of Elspeth. Play Kruga and draw 2. Hoping to draw another land here. The World Tree, excellent. And Spelunking, which is also great. What to get rid of? No, I can't look at opponents. So Angel of Dire Hour has 4 toughness, and so does Skyline Savior. So I think we get rid of Deafening Clarion here. The opponent doesn't hit anything off Herald's Horn. No plays for opponent. Now, Herald's Horn gives their creatures, Angels, a 1 mana discount. So Angel of the Dire Hour actually only costs 6 mana, so they can flash it in. which is undoubtedly what they're holding up. So what don't I mind getting exiled? Also, if I only attack with one creature, they might not flash in Angel of the Dire Hour. Alright, so Kruga will be my sacrificial offering here. Let's see if they flash in, and they do. Adios, Kruga. We'll play Golos here. All my lands tap for mana and come into play untapped. Thanks to Spelunking. Angel of the Dire Hour can block 2 creatures. They don't have a good block on Kenrith. Discards Maskwood Nexus. And it attacks. Cleansing Nova. That's fine. Alright, I like the idea of ramping some more. This might be a good turn to play Casualties of War, because we'll get 4 targets. Opponent is impatient. Elthorn can provide card advantage over time. Alright. I think we Supreme Verdict here. And then we can also play Kenrith. So we'll Supreme Verdict first, obviously. And we can give Kenrith haste. Jada is fine. Tome of the Guild Pact. Warjack Investigator lets them get clue tokens if I have more cards in hand than them, which I definitely do. I definitely like the idea of drawing cards off Tome of the Guild Pact. So we can play Niv-Mizzet and Bedevil. Did land, excellent. That gives us a land drop. And we've hit 4 cards off Niv-Mizzet. Great, including another board wipe. Dramatic Orrery. With that in Mirari's Wake, we're going to have all the mana. I don't think we need Draconic Disciple with 3 ramp artifacts in play. Opponent can replay Gisela. Farah Sky's Blade. Don't need to sacrifice Misty Rainforest because of the World Tree. And I think we just played Binding the Old Gods, destroy Zafara, and attack for lethal. And opponent concedes. Birgi is a combo Storm deck usually, so we're going to want to be able to remove Birgi whenever opponent plays her. Kaya can do the job, but I think this hand is a little slow. I think we want to try and hit some 3 mana removal. So let's try. Alright, I don't think I want to go down to 6, so we'll try this, and hopefully we'll draw some removal for Birgi. This helps us ramp, although we need black mana, so we're going to have to hope we draw a black land source along the way. Okay, that's interesting. E2 Lava Runner. Opponent could still be a combo Storm deck with E2 Lava Runner because it's a 1 mana card, so it pays for itself if Birgi's in play, and I'm sure they'll have lots of instants and sorceries. Okay. Could get in Triome. I've got a red source in Sundown Pass for Escape to the Wilds. I also already have 2 white sources with Hallowed Fountain and Overgrown Farmland. What don't I have? I don't have black. Let's get Zagoth Triumph here. What I was really worried was of opponent ramping on turn 1 and playing Birgi on turn 2 and me not being able to do anything about it. But this is fine. We're going to be taking a fair bit of damage from this Lava Runner because I don't have a play until turn 4. Nothing to do. We'll put Kruga in hand. Opponent seems to be more of a burn deck, to be honest. Alright, Solar Blaze. If Teferi bounces Lava Runner, they just replay it and kill Teferi. They might have more burn, so playing Nissa doesn't guarantee that Nissa will survive. I don't want a Solar Blaze for just the Lava Runner, though. Alright, we'll try Nissa here.
I am Zendikar's one true guardian.
And hope opponent doesn't have a burn spell with which to kill her. And what do we play? I think we just get Kruga down as a big blocker. Oh, they have Toralf's Disciples. They still remove Nissa, so that was a bummer. Well, I guess on the bright side, now there's a good reason to cast Solar Blaze.
Without me, Zendikar is lost.
Draw another land, not bad. I think we still play Solar Blaze here. Also useful that they enabled D2 Lava Runner, because I wouldn't have been able to kill it with Solar Blaze if it only had 1 power. Okay. Burry's in play, and I don't have removal for her. I think we bounce her with Teferi and try... hit our land drops here so we can play Casualty 4.
Right on schedule. There goes nothing.
There's land. I have 2 green sources. I need a black source. Two blue, 3 white, 3 green, 2 red. Need black. Let's get Xander's Lounge. Opponent replays Bergie. They don't have anything else. Good. Single removal is good.
Here we go.
I think we have to destroy Bergie before opponent untaps with her. Alright, opponent had to 2-for-1 themselves to get to Fairy. I could bounce an opponent's land and put a permanent from my graveyard into my hand. Maybe I get Nissa? Honestly, I wouldn't mind getting another land. And I've got Niv Mizzet, so I can always replay Aether Helix out of the graveyard. Let's do that. This also means we can play Chromatic Orrery on our turn, which I think would be great. And I think we're pretty set for mana. We'll get Zeotor's Proving Ground. And Chromatic Orrery is going to be great if Niv Mizzet Supreme sticks around. Okay, Monastery Swift Spear does not die to Solar Blaze. Niv Mizzet Reborn. If Niv Mizzet Reborn is a better blocker against the Swift Spear. Doesn't find lands, which honestly is what I want, although playing Chromatic Orrery gets me ahead on mana for sure. Alright, Fabro Elder, Morant, and a Wrath. That's pretty useful. Only 2 cards, but we'll take it. And Mono Red's going to have a hard time removing a 6/6. Also, if Niv Mizzet sticks around, we can draw 5 cards off Chromatic Orrery, which sounds really good to me. I'll need to draw another untapped land in order to do that and do anything else, though. Fabro Elder, also great with Niv Mizzet Reborn in play. Alright. I'll make this trade. It's not a great trade, but opponent had to spend 2 removal spells and they're losing Swift Spear, so I can always get Niv Mizzet Reborn back with Kenrith's ability. I was looking forward to drawing 5 cards off Chromatic Orrery, though. We have 8 mana. Alright. Opponent replays Bergie. So I think we kill Bergie with Putrefy. And opponent concedes. Alright, there we go. Veto. Life Drain combo deck. We have 3 lands, some ramp with Key to the Archive, which also gives us another spell. We have some removal and Kaya, so I think we keep this. We need more white-black duels for Kaya. We also need blue and green for Fractured Identity. We have a blue source with Shipwreck March. So, looks like this is getting Indatha Triome. Still need to draw another land, so we can play Key to the Archive. And there we go, right on time. We'll see what we draw. If we draw something else we can play, and we draw Spelunking, that's a great draw. Now our lands come into play untapped. I would like another black-white source if I have one. Can't get one with Wooded Foothills. Let's get Zagoth Triumph. Opponent plays Preacher of the Schism. I don't mind that hitting me once. I think we ramp some more. Lightning Bolt is a cheap way to kill Veto. And then what do we get rid of? I think it's Harness Infinity. We're pretty far from that. Really wish I'd drawn a land. But we'll play Golos. Brawl Tree comes into play untapped. Thanks to Spelunking. Alright, Helm of the Host. Still haven't drawn a land. Can I play? No, I can't play Nissa and Fractured Identity. This is a sorcery. We have to get rid of Helm of the Host here. Uh-oh. Kaya can exile that. Land is good.
Saving the world by now. Time for your spirit to move on.
Opponent drew a bunch of cards off their Preacher, which is unfortunate. We were definitely lucky to be able to get rid of Exquisite Blood. That's an infinite combo with Veto. I don't mind them using a Bitter Triumph on a token. Kaya has Hexproof. I'm sure they would have much preferred to have targeted her. Akhlazot's Deepest Betrayal. So I think I'm going to bounce. No, opponent has seen enough. Okay, I'll take it. On we go. Alright, run the play facing Oer Kozlan, Deepest Growth. Rampy with big stompy green creatures. I think we want to look for a hand with some removal, although I like the ramp. Board wipe would be pretty nice. That might be good. So let's take Mulligan. Now we have more expensive ramp and still no removal. So I think we go down to 6 here. Alright, I'm not going down to 5, so we're keeping this. This might not go so well for us. What to send down? I think it's Harness Infinity here. And we only have 2 lands. Well, fortunately we drew a third one. I need green and blue. Might as well make it Spar's headquarters. Chromatic Orrery, pretty far from casting. Honestly, I think I might Cosmic Rebirth for the Misty Rainforest. You'd be surprised how often you want to use your graveyard recursion to get back lands. Tommy of Whispered Hopes, so opponent still ramping, and they have +1/+1 synergy, so they can already play over Kozlem next turn. I do need double, and in some cases, triple black. I don't think there's any way of giving haste in green. So I think we're safe to play Teferi here. We have to plus. No artifacts.
Second here, a second there. Who's counting?
And there's over Kozlem.
I'm familiar with bullies.
Another land is useful. Kenrith blocks over Kozlem unless they have removal. I think it's Mirari's Wake, and accept that I'm losing Teferi. So Mirari's Wake minus Teferi, I think.
The future looks bright.
All right.
For one of us.
And we don't even have to reveal it. That was a great draw. Uh-oh, that's protection against red. Solar Blaze doesn't damage over Kozlem. Neither would have ill-timed explosion.
This is hardly my worst defeat.
Well, I think I have to Solar Blaze here, even if I don't get rid of Oher Kozlem. Fortunately, they weren't able to play Nissa, because Nissa could have blown up my artifacts and enchantments. So I need to be able to remove that Sword of Forge and Frontier. Hulking Raptor, sure thing. Uh-oh. Oh boy. Fortunately, I think that means they can't cast Emrakul. Unfortunately, I think we're dead here unless I can draw something like a Kaya's Wrath. Alright. I think we get as many permanents with mana value 3 or greater, so Karuga draws more cards. Alright, I think we hold up Mithril Coat here. And Reconstruct History can get us back to Fairy, Cosmic Rebirth, and Solar Blaze. Oh boy. And that is going to become a 16/16. And it has haste. Well, I think we're done for here. They only attack with O'Hare Coslem. Alright. This is fine. Karuga can't block because of protection. And then we put Mithril Coat on whichever creature O'Hare is going to kill first. Casualties of war, you say? I think we bounce the sword for now with Teferi. Can Teferi bounce it? Yes. Bounce it, then Reconstruct History and Solar Blaze. Golos doesn't die to Solar Blaze, so let's move the Mithril Coat to Kenrith here.
You show remorse, I'll show restraint. That's more like it.
Alright, and we have another board wipe. Opponent holds off playing the sword. What can I discard to ill-timed explosion here?
Oh, I've done the hero thing before.
Okay, so we can play our sorceries at instant speed. So maybe we Casualties of War to destroy the Forge of Frontier, Glorious Sunrise, and Railway Brawler. And in the meantime, play Glarb and Teferi.
You want to be a great time mage? Put in the hours.
Well, that worked out.
Don't worry. It's only a little mischief.
You'll also spin the wheel with Golos. But I know I'm hitting a land, so... Oh, we can Sphinx's Revelation for 1,000,000 mana here. I can discard Tome of the Guild Pact. Decimate, I would have to target my own. Enchantment, so I don't think I want to do that, although I could use it to get rid of Skullspore Nexus. Let's draw five cards here. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 8 cards, I mean.
Walk through walls, anything looks easy.
Alright, let's see, how much damage are we doing here? 11, 15 exactly. So let's get this over with. Wow, I can't believe we came back and won this one. Sorry I didn't talk that much, it was pretty intense, a lot of decisions to make. Anyway, that was pretty wild. And that'll do it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. If you thought I should have made any different plays, please comment in the comment section below. If there's any commander from Eldraine in particular you'd like to see next, also let me know in the comments, or if there's a commander from another set you'd rather see, let me know that too. Please like and subscribe, and hope to see you again next time. Thanks again. Bye.